very happy to have just completed our first year of teleconferences. This will be the birthday teleconference. We had started last May, and we are very grateful for the series of profound reflections on the Quran that we have had so far. And without further delay, I'll turn the mic to Dr. Yamina, Sister Yamina, to take us through another journey of Quranic wisdom. Assalamu alaikum. She'll be talking, explaining for 45 minutes or so, and then we'll have a bit of time for questions, answers, and comments, engagements. And if you have anything that you feel you wish to raise, any clarification questions, you're welcome to raise that at that point. But if you are able to keep it till the end, that will be easier for the flow of the lecture. And also, remember to mute and as long as you're not speaking. And also, let's try to minimize our use of the chat so that it doesn't distract the speaker. Assalamu alaikum and welcome again.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome again to Always Receiving Nur's monthly lectures on Quranic wisdom. May we always be open to receiving the light of divine guidance, and may this guidance, bi'idhnillah, enlighten our hearts and transform our lives. اللهم أنت ربي لا إله إلا أنت خلقتني وأنا عبدك وأنا على عهدك ووعدك ما استطعت أعوذ بك من شر ما صنعت أبوء لك بنعمتك علي وأبوء بذنبي فاغفر لي فإنه لا يغفر الذنوب إلا أنت. So today, inshallah, we will reflect on the wisdom of the last ayah of Surah 28, al-Qasas, and it's ayah 88. And it says, لا إله إلا هو كل شيء هالك إلا وجهه. There is no deity save him, there is no God save him. Everything is passing except his countenance. So I'll remind you again that we are listening to the Quran. So we want, inshallah, to find the good news of rahmah and healing that this ayah indicates, inshallah. So remember, an ayah is a sign. So the rahmah is not necessarily inside it, but it is indicating, pointing to that rahmah and to that healing. So at first sight, what attracts my attention here is kullu shay'in halik, which means that everything is passing. And so the message in these words seems to hurt rather than heal, at least at first sight, because if everything is passing, this reminds us of separation of beloveds, of things we like, things we love, we are attached to, which is very painful. It reminds us that all our beloveds are passing, all beautiful friends, beautiful people, family, all beautiful beings, all beautiful things are passing, all joyful events are passing, and not only they are passing, but we cannot stop them. We cannot stop time, we cannot even stop our own youth, our own life. And so reflecting on the transience, on the fana of everything we love and value in life brings us so much pain and sadness. So much that often we prefer to avoid it and we plainly ignore it because it makes us feel lonely, powerless, helpless even, because there is no support to grab on, nothing to stand on. Everything is always flowing. Nothing is constant. And so this reality, if we have the courage to accept it though, the same reality, if we have the courage to stay with it and reflect and accept it, it can also put us in touch with that part of us that is so comprehensive. It can connect us with our heart. And inshallah, we may realize that we've been given such a capacity to love that is so boundless. We can love anything. And we never say it is enough. I love so many things. Even if you bring something very beautiful, I cannot love it. So we have this boundless capacity to love. And through that love, we're connected through so many beings around us. Through that love, we're connected to the people around us. Through that love, we are connected to the world around us, and we appreciate it and we derive joy and pleasure from it. And it is through that love that we appreciate everything. We care for them. We worry for their well-being. And this includes not only family and friends, but also other beings. Other beings, the first thing that comes to my mind is animals, for instance. And we don't have to necessarily be an animal lover, especially. Just something that always comes to my mind is, let's say, for the sake of an example, if in the middle of the night, for instance, you hear a kitten crying because it's hungry or whatever, it is in distress for whatever reason, can any of us sleep peacefully? Wouldn't you feel like helping it if you could or if you can? Or at least wouldn't you be relieved if the kitten is taken care of and it stops crying? What if we heard that some forest in some distant land that we've never seen before is burning, for instance? Wouldn't it sadden us? In some ways, we're connected with the whole world. We may not know that forest, but we'll compare it to the woods or the forest that I am familiar with. And so, although it is I feel the connection with it. So, through that love, we're connected with the whole world, as though it were our own family or our own house. However, all these people, all these beings, all these things, the world, all the world, that we are so much attached to, that we care for so much, does not stop. Everything is always changing, always passing, always leaving us. And what remains with us is only the pain of separation. The more we love something, the more painful the separation is. And maybe you remember as kids when we went on summer camps, or when you went on summer vacation and you made friends with the neighbors' children or something, and at the end of the summer, everyone is crying. So it is as though our boundless love and attachment becomes the source of much pain and suffering. And we want to know what is the meaning of this suffering. This ayah is saying, كل شيء حالك إلا وجهه. Everything is passing except his countenance. And the fact that everything is passing, when we remember this the first time, when we're reading this ayah for the first time, it brings much pain. However, remember, this is an ayah, and it is pointing, what it is pointing to is also an ayah. And so this suffering, this pain that we feel is also an ayah. It is also a sign, just as our boundless love is also an ayah. And so today, inshallah, we want to reflect on how love, and especially the pain that it seems to be the source of, are ayat, and ayat to what? And so the answer is that the human heart's boundless capacity to love could not have been given to us to spend on transient, passing, created beings. They just can't satisfy that craving for something, a craving that will satisfy a boundless love. So this boundless and intense, it's not only boundless in the sense that it comprehend or includes, let's say, everything, but it's also very intense. This love, this intense love, craves undying, enduring goodness, beauty, perfection, whatever the thing we love, we want it to be there forever. And the moment it ends, it causes us so much pain. So actually, love is not possible without that sense of how would I call it? Enduringness. I'm making up the word. Baqa, let's say, baqa. I don't want to say immortality because it's more about being enduring. So why love is only possible with a sense of enduringness? Or if we put it the other way around, love is not possible without a sense of enduringness. Think about everything around us is transient. Nothing is enduring in itself. I mean, seasons, spring comes again and again every year, but each spring is passing and transient. So usually, if we stop and reflect, we can love transient beings and things in this world so wholeheartedly only because and when we forget their transience. And usually we do forget their transience. And when we are forgetting their transience, what we're doing is kind of imagining that somehow they are lasting. Somehow they have no end, because their passing is so unbearable, so painful, that it would spoil our enjoying them in the moment. So we just bracketed that out, and we imagine they are lasting, and then we can love them and be attached to them. And an example that comes to my mind is if any one of us stays in a hotel room for a few days, does anyone make plans to repaint the walls if you don't like them, for instance, if you don't like the color, or change the bed, or do anything with the room? Why? Because we don't get attached to the room. We don't make plan about it because we know we'll be leaving soon. And the longer we stay in a place, the more likely we forget that we will leave one day, and so we get emotionally invested in it. And when the time to leave comes, if that's the case, for instance, then it becomes painful. Why? Because it reminds us what we had bracketed out, what we had left out, which is that everything is transient. And had we not bracketed it out, we would not have been able to love it and be attached to it. So if we always kept in mind that the things we love and appreciate are very short-lived, we wouldn't be able to love them and get attached to them in the first place, because of the pain of separation, the pain of remembering that there is no true lastingness in this world. So I repeat it, it is only after imagining a kind of lastingness, a kind of, and forgetting the transience of things, that we can love them and again get attached to them. In other words, if there was no imagined lastingness, there would be no love. Can you imagine? This is very... in itself, it's something to stop and reflect on. So I will invite you to, everyone will reflect on it. It's something that you can only process, each one of us in their own heart. It reminds me of Ibrahim alayhi salam when he said, "La uhibbul afilin." I don't like the things that set, that pass. Which means if la uhibbul afilin, if I don't sorry, if I don't like things that pass, it means I love things that are lasting. And so this intense desire, this, let's call it a hunger, this need for immortality, for enduringness, for lastingness, is an area indicating an eternal and enduring realm. I mean, just like we've been created with the need for food and nourishment, we have hunger, and with this need we can appreciate the food given to us, created for us in this world, all the gifts, all the delicious kinds of foods and nourishment. And through that relationship, food, remember, in its own is not a blessing, a ni'mah, if I didn't have the need for it, the hunger for it. So it is through the relationship of my need with the food that I realize the compassion, the generosity, the munificence of my Rabb. And here also, this eternity. We've been created with a need for eternity, for enduringness. And this need is so intense that all pleasure and joy depends on it. We cannot enjoy anything if there is no eternity, no baqa. And even the thought of the absence of baqa, of eternity, is unbearable to us. And it spoils even worldly pleasures here and now. And that's why we tend to forget it and imagine that eternity, to be able to enjoy whatever we enjoy in this world, to be able to love anything in the world. So this is an area indicating eternity. It's indicating a realm of an enduring realm, a realm of eternity. So the fact is that all things are transient, and in their transience, in their being transient, they indicate an enduring Rabb, an enduring maker, creator. For instance, if we think of the passing beauty of every spring, or the flowers, if we want to be more specific, for instance, the passing of the beauty of a flower indicates the enduring and eternal beauty of its enduring maker. Because that the flower goes, another flower comes. In the beginning, we think the flower is beautiful, but then when it wilts and dies, then I realize that the beauty that I saw on the flower does not belong to the flower, because the flower died, and before it died, it doesn't suddenly die. It wilts and becomes uglier, and then it's as if proclaiming, you know, that beauty, it was not mine. It's coming from somewhere else and going somewhere else. And so that way, the flower becomes an area indicating an enduring and eternal beauty. And for instance, the flower dies, it's alive, it's beautiful, and it's alive. Before it's growing, it's alive. And when it dies, it also is proclaiming that life does not belong to it. So it becomes an ayah indicating the enduring life of the Hayy and the Muhyi, the ever-living one who bestows life to everything. So the transience of the beautiful qualities that make transient beings so lovable, those beautiful qualities that our heart longs for, they are like mirrors to the enduring qualities of our Rabb, of the enduring one, al-baqi, who alone possesses, really, who is the source of beauty, life, in this case beauty, life, but you can add any beautiful name like compassion, munificence, and more. So with this awareness, wherever we look, wherever we turn, we will see God's beautiful names and qualities. And we will find that aspect of the world, that mirror-like aspect of the world that looks to Him and that reflects His asma al-husna, the beautiful names. And so in Surah al-Baqarah, in Ayah 115, it says, وَلِلَّهِ الْمَشْرِقُ وَالْمَغْرِبُ فَأَيْنَمَا تُوَلَّوْا فَثَمَّ وَجْهُ اللَّهِ. And to God belong the east and the west. And wherever you turn, there is God's countenance. And this God's countenance, Wajh Allah, has been translated in different ways. And I understand it from what I've learned so far, that it refers to that aspect of things that looks to God. And in Surah Al-Rahman, Surah 55, maybe you all, since especially in Ramadan we hear this surah a lot, it says كُلُّ مَنْ عَلَيْهَا فَانٍ وَيَبْقَى وَجْهُ رَبِّكَ ذُو الْجَلَالِ وَالْإِكْرَامِ. All that is on earth will perish, is passing. Only the countenance of your Rabb is enduring, Master of Majesty and Generosity. So how do we know that only the countenance of our Rabb is enduring? Because everything is passing. It is in that passing that I find the enduring countenance of God. So in other words, the beauty, the life, the munificence, the perfection in beings, which are the cause of our love, are in fact the ayat, the signs of the enduring Rabb's beauty, life, munificence, imperfection. So what we see here is passing because it's only a reflection of something that is enduring. They are like the shadows or reflection of the manifestation of God's beautiful names. And our heart has been endowed with this huge, intense, and all-comprehensive love. And so when we use that love to love transient things in themselves, for themselves, it cries out because it's longing for that enduring beauty, enduring perfection, enduring life, enduring compassion, not the shadow-like reflection in the mirrors of transient things. It wants the source, the enduring, the eternal qualities. There is actually another ayah that we all know in Surah Taha, Surah 20, ayah 8, the famous Allahu la ilaha illahu lahu al-asma al-husna. This is it's like so beautiful, like an equation. So it says God, who is God? God equals La ilaha illahu. There is no God, no deity save Him. Why? How do I know that nothing, no deity, La ilaha illahu means nothing is worth worshipping, nothing is worth loving, nothing is worth adoring except Him. Why? Because all the beautiful names, the beautiful qualities of perfection, they belong to Him only. So all what you love in this world, they belong to Him only. And put this with the other equation-like ayah that we're reflecting on today. And the other one is Allahu la, it says La ilaha illahu, again the same, La ilaha illahu. There is nothing worth loving or adoring or worshipping except Him. Why? Because kullu shay'in halikun illa wajhuh. Because everything is passing, perishing, except His countenance. So these two ayahs, when you put them next to each other, and remember in Usul Tafsir, the ayat of the Quran explain each other. So when you put them together, these two equation-like beautiful formulas, what it is saying is this Wajhullah is related to al-asma al-husna. And how do I see this Asma al-Husna? How do I find His wajh? When I realize that everything is passing, or when I stop and look into the transience of everything, because usually that's what we avoid, because when we don't know how to find eternity and enduringness within the transience, we avoid it because it's so painful. But this ayah is teaching us how to find that eternal, those enduring, beautiful names within the transience. And it's saying that, look at the transience, you will see that everything passes, but something, illa wajhahu, except everything, but something is not passing. What is it? That's wajhullah. That's the face of God. That's the aspect that looks to God. That's, according to Taha 8, is the aspect that looks to al-asma al-husna, to the beautiful names. So this ayah shows us the way to healing, the way to eternity, the eternity we desire and crave so much. It starts with reminding us of the enduring one, the source of enduring perfection and goodness. It says, La ilaha illahu, there is no deity, nothing worth being loved and worshipped for itself except He. Why? Because you see everything else is halik, is perishing, is passing, except His countenance, except His face, except that aspect of the world and of things that looks to His enduring beautiful name. And I can't find that aspect unless I wait and see what is passing and what is remaining. So I have to go and actually observe the ayat out in the world. And so when the heart finds the enduring, the source, the enduring source of all beauty and perfection, when it finds the enduring beautiful names and it loves them, and the more we're aware of the enduring one with his enduring beautiful names, the more our heart gets filled with his love. And it cannot love transient beings anymore. It's not satisfied with them anymore. It is as though the heart's attachment to transient beings starts getting cut off. It's so full, it's satisfied, it doesn't need them. And so when transient beings leave and depart, instead of causing us pain only, now they become reminders. ayat, they remind us again and again that only our Rabb is enduring. Only the beautiful names that we see in those beautiful beings are enduring and eternal. And so we realize that nothing is in itself, in its fana, in its transience, worth our love and our heart's attachment, except as an ayah, except as a mirror reflecting the manifestations of the beautiful divine name. And this does not reduce the value of created beings. It's just the other way around. They become so much more valuable because now they are the key, the doors, the windows to eternal, eternal beauty, eternal beautiful divine names. And so only that ayah aspect of things, the ayah aspect of things that looks to Wajh Allah, that aspect that looks to their Rabb, or it says Wajhi Rabbika in another ayah, is worth loving for the sake of our Rabb. Bi ismihi, bismillah, in the name of God. So if we see, if I love the flower because it's beautiful, then I love it Bismil Jamil, in the name of the beautiful. And the beautiful, the beauty I love in it is eternal beauty. And so my heart is satisfied now because I can see how it is reflecting an eternal beauty, although the flower itself is transient and it will wilt and die. And its wilting and dying itself becomes another new ayah, a new reminder that yes, indeed, everything is passing except that aspect that looks to him, to the enduring one. And this way the heart is healed from the endless pain, the wounds of transience and separation from its transient passing beloveds. And since our Rabb is enduring, and since his beautiful names are enduring, then all is fine. Everything becomes like a mirror to his eternity. They all reflect a sort of enduringness. Yes, they leave this world, but they remain in existence. And what is more important is that they become ayat, signs indicating his being enduring and eternal. And that's what satisfies our intense desire and need for eternity. And that's why we're taught in the Quran that أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبُ. Only in the remembrance of God can hearts find satisfaction. And the whole ayah, it's in Surah Al-Ra'd, Surah 13, ayah 28, says الذين آمنوا وتطمئن قلوبهم بذكر الله ألا بذكر الله تطمئن القلوب. Those who believe and whose hearts find satisfaction in the remembrance of God, for only in the remembrance of God can hearts find satisfaction. So what's going on here is that first, transience is an ayah to, and transience, of course, when I say transience, it's like food on its own is not an ayah unless I had only, it's an ayah, let's say, only because I have a need for it. I have that hunger. And transience is an ayah also because I have that need for eternity. Because it hurts, because it's painful. And so it becomes an ayah to our eternal Rabb, an ayah to his eternal beautiful names. And that becomes a grounding, a space when you feel grounded. And then you feel safe. And then we can surrender wholeheartedly without fear. And then as the ayah tells us, وَمَنْ يُسْلِمُ وَجْهِهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَهُوَ مُحْسِنٌ فَقَدْ اسْتَمْسَكَ بِالْعُرْوَةِ الْوُثْقَى. وَإِلَى اللَّهِ عَاقِبَةُ الْأُمُورِ. It says, whoever surrenders his whole being unto God as a muhsin. The muhsin is the one who sees beauty everywhere. He sees the beautiful name, al-asma, al-husna, everywhere. The muhsin is the one who lives as though he sees God. How can he see God? He only sees wajh Allah. He sees the aspect of things that looks to God. He has indeed taken hold of a support most unfailing, for with God rests the final outcome of all events. And so, once we go for transience, becomes like a burak for us, like the mount that took the Prophet ﷺ during the ascension. If we ride transience, it takes us to the realm of eternity. The ruh starts enjoying the divine, the enduring divine names everywhere and connecting with them. And then we get back to the world with those not eyeglasses, but let's call them heart glasses. And these heart glasses are the heart glasses of eternity, of enduringness. And then through those heart glasses, we start seeing shahada, observing the enduring wajh Allah in all passing things. Then it becomes more automatic too. We won't get stuck in the passing of things, but as we look at them, we will see that ayah side of them, that mirror aspect of them that reflects the enduring beautiful names, al-asma, al-husna. And this is happening in this world. And so we rejoice in seeing his enduring beautiful name everywhere. And we start loving everything in his name and for his sake. And then we say, yes, la ilaha illahu kullu shay'in halikun illa wajhah. Yes, there is nothing worth loving or worshipping, nothing worth adoring, because everything is passing and perishing except wajhah, except his countenance, except that aspect of things that looks to him, to his beautiful names. And so you can see how this ayah indicates the way to much healing and much rahmah. It indicates to us the gate to great and amazing possibility. The possibility of finding eternity within transience. I mean, this is alchemy. Can you imagine? You find eternity within transience. Transience, when you don't run away from it because you think it's painful, it says stay a little bit, be patient. When we stay there and be patient, as we are taught in this area, and we really look into the mirror of transience, we start seeing eternity. We find that it's actually almost like a window. To the ruh, it is a window. Here and now. And how? This is not only in a metaphoric way, but also in the sense that if we stand our life in his name, in the name of our enduring Rabb, then our life will bear enduring fruits of the hereafter. Then this life will become the Mazra'atul Akhirah, as the Prophet ﷺ taught us. It becomes the Mazra'ah. It's like the farming. Here we farm and we'll get the crops and the fruits in the hereafter. Otherwise, we will live a life that is transient, with transient and passing results. Because one moment spent on the way of knowledge of God, on the way of love of our enduring Rabb, of the way of loving in the name of his enduring Asma al-Husna, is like a year for the heart, or more. Like for the ruh, it's like the window, a window onto eternity, onto permanence, the permanence of the Isma al-Husna, the beautiful names. However, if our life is not spent on His way, in His name, even a whole year or even a whole life is at the end like a moment, because at the end it ends, it is passing, it passes, whether it was 20 years or 60 years or 100 years. Even if they gave us 200 years, it would still pass, and at the end there would be nothing. There is a verse in Arabic. It says أرض الفلاة مع الأعداء فنجان سم الخياط مع الأحباب ميدان. The broad earth with enemies is like a drinking glass, it's so small, while the eye of a needle with friends is like a broad place. So this means that our hala ruhiyya, how we feel, how our ruh, the state of our ruh, our state of being is very important on how we feel even here and now. So it's not only in the end after we die that we will realize this. We actually feel when we are happy with our life, we feel that it's worth it. And when we know that everything is lasting, that it bears lasting fruits of akhirah, and when it is spent for the sake of transient things, even what we call successful, let's say, imagine we have the most successful life by worldly standards, I mean, because it cannot transcend transience, however long it is, at the end, it is short and brief because it ends. And we feel it here and now. It cannot satisfy our heart, and because it longs for eternity. And so at the end, we feel the regret. We regret. We know, we feel that, so what? All these things, and so what? Like, what remained in my hands? What's worth? What's something that has value? Something that has value is something that satisfies my heart and my ruh. And so this means that it's not about quantity. It's not about how many years we spent in this life, but it is about the quality, how we spend our life. Many years of transience are just as passing and fleeting as a second, like an illusion or a dream. And at the end, even in imagination, and imagination actually has been given to us for that. So I don't have, can you imagine if I didn't have imagination? I would have to go through life, and then when I'm dying, I'll regret it. It will be too late. I don't have to go through all that. I can imagine it. I can stop here and imagine, choose a lifestyle and imagine it, and you are now at the last moment dying. Does it feel that your heart is satisfied, or is it full of regret and sorrow? So imagination is a nice tool. So the crucial question is, do you want to make your transient, passing, brief, short life into a beneficial and long life with lasting fruits and results? And think about it. How much of our life so far has been spent in a useless way? In a useless way, let me define useless, in a way that I'm doing lots of things, but if I stop and ask myself, if I were to die tomorrow, would there be anything I would regret? Or would I be very satisfied with the way I spend my life. So how much of my life was worth living? So I would invite all of us, like, isn't it time to make a sound choice? Wouldn't it be nice if when we were living this world, we had no regret whatsoever, and we were so happy. We had a fulfilled life, and our hearts and ruh were fully satisfied. Isn't it much profitable to seek the means to transform our short passing life into a perpetual life with lasting results? Think about it. And we know the means. The Quran gives us these means. This ayah is one of those means. The means for this amazing alchemy transformation is to live bismillah, in the name of God. To work for the sake of God, al-baqi, the only enduring one, the eternal one. To love for his sake, to see and witness his beautiful names everywhere, to live with ihsan. Then not only we will be saved from the pain of transience, but our heart will also find rest and peace, and it will be satisfied. ألا بذكر الله تطمئن القلوب. And I want to take this ayah that we reflected on today, this beautiful ayah, and instead of starting from the end, which was the last ayah, I'm going to start few ayats before. So a few ayats before, in Surah 28, I'm starting from ayah 83. It says, تلك الدار الآخرة نجعلها للذين لا يريدون علوا في الأرض ولا فسادا والعاقبة للمتقين من جاء بالحسنة فله خير منها ومن جاء بالسيئة فلا يجزى الذين عملوا السيئات إلا ما كانوا يعملون إن الذي فرض عليك القرآن لرادك إلى معاد قل ربي أعلم من جاء بالهدى ومن هو في ضلال مبين وما كنت ترجو أن يلقى إليك الكتاب وما كنت ترجو أن يلقى إليك الكتاب إلا رحمة من ربك فلا تكونن ظهيرا للكافرين ولا يصدنك عن آيات الله بعد إذ أنزلت إليك وادع إلى ربك ولا تكونن من المشركين ولا تدع مع الله إلها آخر لا إله إلا هو كل شيء حالك إلا وجهه له الحكم وإليه ترجعون. So if we start from ayah 83, it says, the abode of the next world, of the hereafter, we grant it to those who do not seek glory on earth, or they don't seek to cause corruption in it. And the best end is for the God conscious. Anyone who does a good deed will be rewarded with what is better, and anyone who does a bad deed will only be repaid for what they did. Subhanallah, look at the not justice but also mercy. Surely he who has ordained the Quran on you will bring you to the best end. Say, my Rabb knows best who has brought guidance and who is plainly misguided. Subhanallah, there is no need to fight. God knows. You did not expect to be given the book. It is nothing but a rahmah from your Rabb. So do not lend support to those who deny the truth, and do not let them turn you away from God's ayat after they have been sent down to you. Call to your Rabb and never be one of the mushrikeen. And do not invoke any God along with God, because there is no God except Him. All things are passing except his countenance. Judgment belongs to him, and to him you are returning. ترجعون. You are returning. Subhanallah, this will له الحكم reminded me of in Surah Yusuf alayhi salam. In al-hukmu illa lillah, it says judgment, al-hukm belongs to God alone. Here it says do not call anything, any other thing with God, because there is no other God than him. And how do I know there is no other God than him? Go and look out there. Everything is passing except his countenance, except that which is coming from him and which is pointing back to him. Then you understand that yes, lahul hukm, judgment belongs to him alone, wa ilayhi turja'un. And everything, including us, we are returning to him. Subhanallah. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا وأخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين آمين الحمد لله رب العالمين. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sister Yamina. Jazakallah khair. Is there anyone who wants to ask a question or share a comment?
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
So, Dr. Yamina, in the beginning you mentioned something about loving all creation. Fine, that makes sense, like family and friends. But how do you prioritize? Meaning, okay, fine, like sometimes you also come across, different types of creation. But then what I'm trying to say, you would love them, right? Because you see the beauty in it is created by Allah. But what I'm trying to say, I don't know, how do you prioritize? For example, so family and friends would come first and then the rest later. Is there a balance in between?
When you prioritize them, what need would that fulfill? When you're thinking of prioritizing, what are you thinking of?
I'm thinking of, like, these are my immediate circle. For example, anybody that's not immediate circles you come across, okay, that's good.
And why is that an issue? Because the issue here is when I'm thinking of the circle, the concentric circle, and I'm at the center, and whatever is closer to me, naturally I know it more, and therefore I'm going to be more attached, more likely to be
right.
in a relationship.
I guess what I'm trying to say, should you invest in it? For example, you see a nice cat, I don't know, on the street, okay.
Yeah. I have
a cat that is injured, fine. You kind of, help out the cat, that's injured, and then fine, and then you kind of build up some sort of attachment with it. But, for example, kids, there should be a balance in between, spending too much time with cats that you forget, like, I guess the attachment with, like the people who come close to you.
Before we can find the balance is when we start realizing that the relationship is not a horizontal relationship, me at the center and the whole world like concentric circles around me. When I start seeing everything as an ayah, as mirror-like reflecting the divine names, then the perspective is very, very different. So it will be the prioritizing, if there is a prioritizing, will be based on the names that I see there rather than what benefit it brings to me, for instance, and how I'm related to it. Because sometimes like there is this hadith about this man who saw a cat, I think that was a cat or a dog, I think it was a dog, that was so thirsty, and this man went into the well. It was in the desert, there was nothing around, so he went into the well to drink. And when he saw the thirsty dog, he went back, took his boat, filled it with water, and offered it to the dog. And there is another. This is given as an example of someone, a deed, a hasana here, that's called a good deed. Man ja'a bi hasanatin. So this is hasana. This is a good deed. This is a deed that opens the door of paradise. An example of a woman who got angry with a cat, and or for some reason she put him. I don't remember the exact text, wording, the exact wording, but she put him in a. Locked him in a room, and the cat died of hunger. And this is a sayyi'ah. وَمَنْ جَاءَ بِسَيِّئَةٍ in this text. And so that's a bad deed, because in that instant, at least, she could not have seen the connection with the divine names there. She saw a cat that annoyed her for some reason. So the balance, sometimes you can say, well, this is my child, this is only a cat. But there are situations where if it's a matter of life and death, then I can't say, but I have to cook dinner for my child. But the cat is going to die. For instance, I'm making it up. It's more, and it's not about the cat, well, it is about the cat dying, but with the cat dying in this example, it's about the life, that love for life that has been given to us. And so we love seeing it there. And as much as we can, we want to preserve it there. So the more, I think the more we start seeing the world with those heart glasses of the divine names, seeing the enduring aspect that looks to God everywhere, that time I wouldn't ask, I don't think we would ask a question like that, because that time I would be more open to the guidance. So it's not always, actually, the answer will be clear, because you will feel that it's not me who is deciding I'll do this and then I'll do that. And that's because most of the time we shut off that connection. But when that connection, that vertical, not horizontal connection, is open, when the heart is open, when it has those awareness glasses on, then it feels that it is guided somewhere rather than somewhere else. And sometimes it may not go with the plan we want to have for our life. It's like Yusuf alayhi salam. If we, I can imagine if one of us was there, where is the guidance? Like, why should I spend years in prison? I would look for a way to get out of it. If I can't, I would be very frustrated with it, because I don't see the guidance there. I don't see the aspect that looks to God's beautiful names there. And so how does he know he should stay there or not? Well, if he was meant to go out, things would have been made easy to him. So it's not like he's prioritizing, he's choosing to stay in prison. He's choosing to follow the guidance. He's choosing to be a muhsin. So something that I remind myself again and again when I forget is that sometimes I forget and I say, I wish I knew exactly what to do now. And that's how I felt the prioritizing. Like, what should I do? And then I say, astaghfirullah, because then I get frustrated because really no one comes with a list for you to, here it is what you need to do. And then you make istighfar and you know that it's not about what shall I do. My choice is who I choose to be. Do I choose to be that conscious surrenderer who chooses to be a muhsin, to always remember to see, to find the aspect of things that looks to the beautiful names? And when I choose to be a muhsin, everything else is going to follow, because then I just surrender, and then I start seeing the wisdom in what's happening around me, and then I can choose, or I will be aware that I may guided. The choice is what I make first, not in what's happening to me. When I make that choice, then I know how to respond to what comes my way, because really, if we think about it, there isn't much choice going on. It's really a choice of how to respond to things. Of course, from another point of view, you can say the way we respond to things make a huge difference, and that's true as well. It's just the way I wanted to look at it from another perspective, inshallah. And I don't know if I could articulate it.
No, alhamdulillah, that was great. Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, Fatima.
I have a question and a comment. My question is about the two kinds of love that maybe you didn't use exactly the same words, but from my own understanding, two kinds of love. The first kind of love, to me, is a little bit like a baby who loves the mom. So the baby is, just totally absorbed into the love without realizing the sad part, that is, the mom might die. So I think this kind of love, we often experience that. For example, we see a flower that is very beautiful, or there is a person that is very, very attractive. We are totally attracted or absorbed by the beauty that we see. So we don't necessarily realize that there is whatever the object we love is not eternal. So we might stuck with this kind of love. And there is another kind of love, the second kind of love, that is based on the understanding that things are not permanent. They are all passing. So realizing the other side, realizing the impermanence of things, and then realizing that there's only another one source of permanence. So we come back to love the things around us, the people, or the things. So my question is really about this kind of love. I think I, at least sometimes, also become stuck with this kind of love. That is, realizing that everything is passing. There is only one source of eternity. And then with that understanding, I find sometimes it's a little bit
difficult to love the things around me, since it's easy to see the limitations of everything. The flower, it is beautiful at this moment. The next moment, it's going to disappear. A person is very strong and has a lot of good qualities, but then you realize instantly that one day the person would become old and die. So sometimes I feel like this kind of understanding prevents me from loving people or things wholeheartedly.
Which kind of understanding?
The understanding about the limitations of and the impermanence of everything. So because when I look at something now, I always realize that it's passing. It's passing. So in a way, it prevents me from loving that thing very wholeheartedly. And I think sometimes it leads to kind of like a fatalist attitude. So since it's going to pass, so why bother to love it?
If the ayah stopped as at kullu shay'in halik, if it said everything is passing and it stopped, then that would be the case. However, look at the ayah, look at the wisdom, look at the rahmah. It says everything is passing except there is something that is not passing here, because otherwise I will ask you, it's again and again the same trap that we fall into. I said here that there are two steps. The first step, which is the permanence, I cannot find permanence by just imagining it. I find permanence through impermanence. It is through the flower being transient and impermanent that I found the source of permanent and eternal beauty. So I cannot discard the flower afterwards and say, what's the value of this flower? It's impermanent anyway, and there is a permanent source. That's why I said there are two steps. The first step is through the impermanence of the flower, the impermanence itself, the transience itself, is the ayah, it is the mirror, it is the window, the door to eternity and permanence. And so I go through that door, the ruh finds that, we said it's like the burak, the mount that the Prophet ﷺ rode on his ascension, on the Mi'raj, and it's like that transience there, the transient beauty, for instance, becomes like a burak, that takes the ruh up to find eternal beauty, permanent beauty. Now we don't stay there forever. We go back to the world, and then that's what you are talking about now, which is when I go back to the world, I say, oh, this is impermanent. What am I going to do with it? But then that's closing the door to eternity, because that was the door. I can't take off say, I don't care about the door, but you go through the door. And this door is a very important door. You don't want to get rid of it, because it's the only way for us to find eternity. It is the only way to find wajhullah. So you see the ayah is saying, La ilaha illahu kulla shay'in. Everything is passing except God's countenance. So God's countenance, I find it here. It is not passing. Everything is passing, but there is something here that I can recognize that is not passing, that looks to the beautiful names. And when I come back, the second step, then I appreciate everything in the name of God. Yes, it is passing, but it is reflecting something undying, something permanent. Yes, itself, the mirror is breaking, but what I see in the mirror is something really valuable. Yes, my mother left this world, but the compassion was a reflection of divine, beautiful, eternal compassion. And so it also, just like it reflects beauty, everything reflects also the permanence. Yes, in this world it ends and dies, but I know that I will see it again in the hereafter. Why? Because permanence, eternity is also a name of God. It also will reflect. It also is, everything acquires that quality of permanence because they come from the permanent, from the eternal. And so it's very important that I don't forget the whole area, and I don't forget where I found myself into how I found permanence in the first place. I can't get rid of the mount of the tool that took me there, because I will use it again and again and again. And each time I buy again a new or plant new flowers, and they grow, and as they grow I again say, subhanallah, how beautiful they are made, how they are reflecting this beauty. In paradise it will be even clearer that it is only a reflection of eternal beauty, divine beauty. And when it starts wilting and not being beautiful anymore and dying, I say, yes, كل شيء هالك إلا وجهه لا إله إلا هو كل شيء هالك إلا وجهه. Everything is passing except his countenance, the aspect that looks to him, that eternal beauty that I found, that meaning, my ruh is still there with it, because the physical things don't last long, but the emotions, and especially the ruh, their world is much wider, broader. So the ruh doesn't forget suddenly, just because the flower died, forget about eternal beauty. It stays with that meaning until the next one comes. And actually it rejoices in the news that yes, the flower is dying, and it is saying La ilaha illahu. The flower itself, with the way it is made, the way it is transient and impermanent, the way it wills and dies, is also its way of telling me that, look, everything is dying. What you saw, the beauty you saw in me, did not belong to me. It was the beauty that you long for. So I love this flower even more. It is an ayah from God. It is a speech from God. It is a messenger from God. It is my friend. It is my beloved friend, messenger from God, with a message of beauty, of eternity, of permanence. And so when I don't just claim that everything is from God, when I witness it, when I make shahada like this, then my relationship with the flower, with the beings around me, is going to change. They're going to be my friends. They're going to be at my... I speak to them. They speak to me. I understand their speech, and so I wait for guidance through them. And when I don't understand, I go back to the guide, to the book of guidance, to the Quran, and will explain to me what they are telling me. And so I can't say, oh, but now I can't love them. I love them even more. I feel even, they don't feel alien anymore. They feel very close. My ruh will see the angelic part of them, the Malak al-Muwakkal, the angels there, and we'll get the message directly from them. Inshallah, inshallah, it has somehow give you at least a indication to the answer.
Yamina, could we use the heart like the equation that you gave, like you were like in answering the previous question, you were saying that it's our choice is not in what to do, our choice is in how to feel. So if we take our
not
heart,
how to feel,
like
how to,
think
who
of
to
like
be.
using the thermometer of the heart. So if our heart,
Alia,
yes?
we don't choose how to feel. We choose who to be first, because
Yeah.
the feeling is going to be accordingly. And it's not important whether it's sadness or happiness. Both are ayah. If I choose to be a muhsin, both of them will lead me back to wajh Allah, inshallah.
So I'm trying to like decipher Fatima's second part of the question, which is the part that you meet a lot of people that way who have lost a loved one or have lived in a hard situation, and they realize that love doesn't come easy. People they love go away, so they built this very hard heart that makes them feel like, okay, because everything is transient and it's not easy, then I'm not gonna love anyone. Then I'm not going to be attached to anything.
You mean a protective mode?
I'm in a protective mode. So I was thinking, if we use our heart as like, you know, as a thermometer, say in that protective mode, how does our heart feel? If our heart feels grateful, you know, you cannot feel grateful while you're in this protective mode. You almost feel like you're always like trying to protect yourself. But if your heart is in a state of muhsin, ihsan, awareness, and you are grateful, then, you know, sort of, you know, I'm just thinking like, how can you protect yourself from this, like, you know, from this way of saying, I'm protecting my heart, I'm not gonna love anyone, everything is transient, so I better not love anything.
Then
in that mode,
then
you
I
can't
would live
be
in
grateful.
fear.
Your heart cannot be grateful in that mode. Your heart will always be aching.
It will be, I will live in fear. Fear of impermanence.
So me?
And
Because
yes, go ahead, Isra.
Because when we decide we have those protective walls and we can do so much to not to love, but then at the end of the day we at least love ourselves, or like we love life, like there's something we can try to minimize what we love, but at the end of the day we still will love something, and
we cling to something.
Still there.
Yeah. We cling to something. The point is that pain is there as an ayah as well. It is a messenger. It is a friend, not a foe, not an enemy. That pain is there. Can you imagine if we had no pain of separation? Then first, forget about akhirah, even in this world. I would not appreciate, there would be no appreciation of what is valuable and what is not for me. It is because of that pain that I can appreciate how the presence of that person, if it is a person, for instance, that we lost, was so beautiful and a great gift. The choice of being a muhsin is key, because when I make that choice, instead of saying pain is bad and I'm going to avoid it at all costs, I go back to, I am in a state of ihsan. I am aware that I don't know what is good and bad, and I know one thing is that my Rabb is taking care of me, and whatever comes from him is always has a message of rahmah and healing. And remember here, the Quran and the ayat are not only the Quran, the ayah here, La ilaha illahu kullu shay'in halikun illa wajhah, is a message of healing and rahmah. And what it points to in the world is also an ayah that brings a message of healing and rahmah. So the separation, the pain of separation, that grieving is also pointing to something, telling me that you don't like passing things. Like Ibrahim alayhis salam, how did he become fit to open to receiving the message? He knew exactly. He said, I don't like impermanence. What does it mean? Always, I tell you, like, write what you like, and then you will find what you don't like. You will find what you like. If I don't like impermanence, it means I like permanence. I have the desire for permanence. When my stomach is aching because of hunger, do I ever doubt that there is food out there? Immediately we go out and look for food. And so that aching for permanence, if I don't run away from it and put walls against it around my heart because I don't want to feel it, if I stay there and feel it and listen to it, it will teach me that you need permanence. Ask for permanence. You need permanence, therefore you are hungry for permanence. And so I will start looking around. Where is permanence? I want permanence. I'm hungry for permanence. And then I will start seeing it, inshallah. Bismillah.
Thank you for the comments and questions, dear friends. Is there anybody else who wants to say any comment? Okay, so it's almost 10 p.m. and we are grateful for this reflection that carries us to the heart of our life. The question of separation and transience is almost the elephant in the room throughout our lives. And it's so beautiful that the Quran is calling us to pay attention to that yearning in us for endurance and to really see it as a window opening up to eternity. Thank you, Sister Yamina, for walking us through another Quranic garden. And thank you all of you for joining us tonight. Inshallah, we look forward to seeing you in our next teleconference again on the first Tuesday of next month. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Thank you, Isra.
Also, I wanted to announce, by the way, that we have just finished Surah Yusuf study that happened over 3 seasons over the course of a couple of months, and those audio recordings are available through YouTube Receiving Nur channel. You can also find them on our website temporarily, and we will be resuming our Quran studies shortly. We'll send you a note when we do so in a week or two. We're planning to start another Quranic study session, and it will be on Tuesdays at 8:30, except when there is a teleconference. So keep that in mind in your hearts, and we hope to see you in those study circles as well. Assalamu alaikum.